Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to your Bread for Today channel. I am Tonisha, and your bread for today, all things work together for your good, or it wasn't a waste. If you don't know, go check out the latest video, which I'll link here somewhere. I've been talking through my disappointment, of how the last year has gone for me and just trying to figure out and reconcile what that all means and how I'm going to move forward as, a grown adult in 2025. So I am an 8/28 baby. My birthday is August 28th. And earlier on in my faith walk, when I discovered Romans 8:28, I kind of just latched onto that because it says, and we know that all things work together for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. And so as I, began to walk out my journey, I latched onto that because it was like, okay, none of this stuff has made sense up to this point, Tonisha, but because this is what your faith says, perhaps that can be, a truth that you live into. And so that's just how I've been trying to live my life, how I got to this, notion of one day at a time, and how I just have to understand that all things, right? All the things, good, the bad, the ugly, are gonna work together for my good because this is how I'm operating, right? So latch onto that and just try to live it out and try to live into that in retrospect. And now that I feel like, I'm coming out of the wilderness, I can finally see the forest for the trees, those movies where they've been going round and round in circles and then finally somebody's like, oh, do you hear that? And there's the water, right? And so, yes, finally, to the water, to the refreshing, out of the fog, and hopefully, more and good and new things will come from that. Be sure to, before I forget, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for that. But what are the things, right? Like all these things, Tonisha, yes, they're working together, but what are these things? The first thing is just resilience, right? This resiliency in the face of tragedy, in the face of disappointment, in the face of things not going your way. Initially, I'm looking at it like, oh, Tonisha, I'm resilient. I can come back from anything. I know how to make $1 out of 15 cents, right? Like I have the tools, I have the skills necessary to make this thing happen, to turn the situation around. But that wasn't the lesson for me in 2024. I'm learning, right? And that comes to reflection, which is my next point. But, I know how to do it, right? It was of my own strength. It was of my own will. It was of sheer determination, right? Like I can get myself back to a place where I think that I want to be. But that was not the notion or the dependency or the type of resiliency that I was supposed to be fostering, right? And I'm able to see that now, right? It was like, no, if you're going to be resilient, you need to then learn to trust me, i.e. God, right? There can be no testimony without a test. And it's like always with the test. And I get it, but also that's just the way that it has to be. And so that's what life comes to, right? Like, build that resiliency. It comes to strengthen that resolve. And it's not like what doesn't kill you make you stronger, because some of that stuff be hurting and it is, but it is what it is. And so no testimony without a test. And for me, it was just simply, Tonisha, I need you just to trust me through this. I need you to understand that you will be okay. You know what I'm saying? If the plan doesn't look like how you think that it should look like, right? Especially with just the calamity of our economy, the calamity of, just the farce that I believe that, America is as a whole, just how that's unfolding, plus whatever we have in our own personal lives going on, right? And so that again is the tragedy of America, to make us to believe that we are all alone in this, when that is absolutely not the case. But you got to go through some things nevertheless, right? And so for me, it was about, you were resilient in this way, but can you build your resiliency for a trust in me? And that's just been my walk. That's just been my challenge. But I have been going through it and appreciating just how I can see God in every step of the way. And that reflection has been what has been my protection, right? People like to say rejection is protection because, you get the door slammed in your face, whatever. you got to pivot, etc., and how that builds your resiliency in one kind of way, right? Builds your stamina. But for me, it's reflection, because the trust is linked directly back to all the ways that I've seen God have his hand in my life. And so it can be no reflection in that way without me having the time to stop, pause, see, okay, Tonisha, how in what ways have you survived this thing, right? How in what ways have you been cared for? How in what ways have you been protected for all of the ways in which you feel like you were consumed or whatever, right? And I think that that's why the importance of daily bread is such a thing for me, because I have to slow down. I moved here because I thought, okay, we're slowing down, we're getting out of the rat race. This was always the intention. That's what's so crazy, because it's like, this was always the intention. But again, I wanted it to look the way that I wanted it to look. And the saying, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right? Because we don't order our own steps. And it's just like, when you slow down, you can learn to rest in that. You can learn to rest in the fact that, listen, all you are given really is one day at a time. We don't know what will come of tomorrow, and we cannot do anything about what happened yesterday, right? So you literally just exist in this space and time, and it's like, okay, how can I see the joys of this day, right? How can I, because that's where the trust comes in, because you're like, since I literally can't do anything, I cannot make a day. I don't care what, your faith is, what your credentials are, whatever. You cannot make a day. And so having that understanding, at least for me, is what humbles me, and it helps me to reflect even more, because it's like, well, since I didn't do that and man has been around, this whole time, and people have been, surviving and thriving and, warring and toiling, and nothing is new under the sun. What does it look like to slow down, appreciate just the day that I have, understand that it becomes then a work of my heart, right? Like, what do I think I deserve? Who do I think I am? And why do I think that way? And perhaps some of those things are true, right? Like, you do deserve good things. You deserve joy. You deserve peace, which is why I always try to relate to, when I talk to my friends on the phone, when we catch up, it's just like, please tell me all the good that is going on in your life, because you deserve those things. And so I love to hear those kinds of stories. But this work has been, for me, a work of the heart, right? A work of seeing that the beauty and the sustenance is in that given day. Give us this day our daily bread, right? Because the heart is deceitful above all things, the scripture says, and desperately wicked. Who can know it, right? Like, what, Tonisha, is in your heart? What do you say with your mouth, right? Do you tell people you believe this thing, but then in your heart you doubt, right? Like, are you gonna take that leap of faith and do what it is you feel like your heart is calling you to do? As I mentioned in the disappointment video, right? Hope delayed makes the heart sick. Maybe your expectations were met and now you're trying to go to a different level, but having to overcome the challenge of believing you even can have that thing. I don't know, whatever the posture is for you. But for me, it was understanding that I'm still being taken care of, period. And with that, it's like, the time can be redeemed as well. You know what I'm saying? People always ask me, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna produce that? And I just look at them and I think it's so funny, because it's like, I am the production. And I mean that, I just mean that, like, you are the production, right? Like, we obsess over purpose so much. And it's like, this is the purpose. It's not like you get, right? It's like, get thee to the place that I'm gonna show you, right? Not like, right, you don't get to the address and then no. You still got decades of life to live. So it can't be there that you're looking for. And so I help to reconcile, this notion of time, this notion of should, all of those things, because I understand that this is the production, right? It doesn't stop until my life stops. And then that's it. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's why we're always having babies, right? We have to keep this, the circle won't be unbroken, right? Nothing is new under the sun, like I said earlier. And so all of those things then, right? For as much as I want to leave, for as much as some days I'm like, this is so ridiculous, for as much as some days I'm like, listen, I can't do it anymore. Like I cannot be, or for as much as I'm like, please don't let this ever end because I love this moment that I'm in, right? You can't run away. The only way out is through. So you understand, and we understand that all of these things then, right? The resiliency for whatever season you're in, the reflection to understand that you have been here before and you will probably be here again in another iteration of the same thing that we call life, and understanding that you are the production, right? The time it's always going to be redeemed because you are as we go along, we see what else is there to unfold. I hope that's making sense. Thank y'all for hanging with me. Your breath for today is all things will work together for your good. And it was not a waste. It never is a waste. The lesson in the waiting is just to trust yourself and to, understand that it's all good. All right, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Talk to you soon. Peace.